Mr. Gunnar Nelson, Goan Dain.
Gontahen.
Good day to you, sir. Uh, where do your ties to Croatia begin and where do they end?
Well, hopefully they don't end. I got to know Luca many years ago when we met in Dublin, Ireland. I think we immediately hit it off. We had a hard first spar, and we kind of got to respect each other. And from there, we started training together quite a bit. So he came to Iceland to train with me also, made trips over, and obviously I was always had one foot over in Dublin. Long story short, he moved to Iceland some years ago, and he was living there for many years with his family. And so recently he comes back to Croatia, and I followed him here. Come and train and prepare for my fight March 22nd.
And how has your kind of camp been so far? What do you see like as maybe advantages here compared to, say, SBG or Mjolnir?
So you have a lot of, obviously going to a different place always gives you variety and stuff. So coming to this place, I really enjoyed the vibe here. I think everybody is quite calm. They know how to train. The coaches here are great. You have a lot of high-level coaches. Obviously, Luca being one of them, and Luca being one of my coaches as well. So you have a good group of guys here, good, strong protein, big guys, strong guys, guys that can be great partners for me, for my weight class, for my upcoming opponent. So the plan was to come here and maybe stay for a few weeks. And then I did like it so much that I decided to stay for the whole camp.
Also, when it comes to Croatian fighters, you have Mr. Francisco Albano Barrio, known as Croata in some circles. So
Yeah.
what can you tell me about him and your ties with him?
I love Francisco. We trained together many years ago also, and we had a camp over in Mexico. It was a camp for Carl Pendred, who was fighting in Mexico City. So we trained at altitude. We were there for a month and a bit, if I remember correctly, maybe 1.5 months or 2 months, I can't remember exactly. But that's when I met Francisco and trained with him. He's an animal. So when we first trained together, obviously he's a Greco-Roman guy originally. So he had some really good throws, and I really enjoyed wrestling with him, and he would toss us all over the place, you know. So that was fun. He's a small guy, but he's very strong and very good. Also, just a nice person.
One more commonality between Iceland and Croatia, and that's of course lamb. So what do you think about Croatian lamb compared to Icelandic lamb?
I don't think I've had much lamb here since I've been here, to be honest. So I have to discover the Croatian lamb, to be honest. I've been eating a lot of good food. I love the food here. You're eating a lot of veal, a lot of slow-cooked meats, and the potatoes here are something else. I love the Croatian potatoes.
Really?
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Croatia aside, let's talk about your pro career, because obviously you're an active UFC fighter. 1951. What can you tell me about your pro career and how is it going so far?
Yeah, I mean, I started young. I started 19. 2007, I had my first pro fight. So I've been fighting for a long time, 18 years. And yeah, it's been going well. Obviously, some wins, some losses, but some losses. But I feel good. I feel good where I am now. I'm obviously getting to the end of my career, or at least the later half. But I'm still improving, still feeling good. My body is responding well to this camp. And yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
So you're scheduled to fight Mr. Kevin Holland in London.
Yes.
Leon Edwards is actually leading the card. Does that fact kind of leave a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth because he's also kind of an eye poker, and the fight with you kind of ended with your groin on his head, you know?
So, yeah. No, not really. Me and Leon are good. I always speak to Leon when I meet him. We have a nice acquaintance relationship, you know. So no bad blood between me and Leon. Never has been, really. It was a close fight, and he won, and that's all, you know. I like Leon.
Okay. What about Kevin?
Kevin, yeah, good fighter, exciting fighter. Talks a lot. I'll be excited to see what he has to say. Hopefully, he has something interesting and fun to say, not just bullshit trash talk. We'll see.
Okay, but when it comes to, like, say, fighting in the cage, you had this whole experience with eye pokes, and you were one of the guys who were very outspoken about it. What do you think about that whole kind of tactic of people using eye pokes and groin shots in order for, you know, them to kind of reach to competitive advantage within a match?
Yeah, I mean, it's dirty. I don't like it. It's not, in my opinion, it's not the martial art way. It's disrespectful, and yeah, I'm not about it.
It's also, to me, very kind of weird to see you being so outspoken about eye pokes, and then after you say win a fight, you get interviewed by DC, who is also notoriously an eye poker. So that was kind of, you know, to me, like, that contrast was kind of weird, you know. But did you kind of, were you wary of his hands, you know, when he approached you with the microphone? Do you think that the whole eye poke thing maybe tarnished Jon Jones's career a little bit?
I mean, Jon Jones is a phenomenal fighter, one of a kind, really. So this is one part that I do not like about his fighting style, is that he has a lot of eye pokes under his belt. If it defines his fighting style, no, I don't think so. I think he could have done well without them. I think it more just puts a little bit of a nasty ink on his style a little bit, but I don't think really people focus too much on it in Jon Jones's case.
We spoke about Jon Jones as an American. You also have some American blood within you. So what can you tell me about your dad?
So my father is born and raised in Iceland. His father was American. He was a soldier. He was based in Iceland for many years when the Americans had an army base in Iceland, and that's where he met my grandma. They were married for some years and had my dad. I never went to visit him. I know my dad's siblings. I've met them many times, and we have a really good relationship. He had a good relationship with his father. Yeah, unfortunately, I never got to meet him, but the relationship between in the family has always been really, really good. And
so you have Marine blood in you.
Yes.
That maybe, you know, they say that blood is thicker than water, so yeah, you know, could be. So let's go back to your gym. There are a lot of people here wearing Mjolnir MMA rash guards, shorts, and similar things. What can you tell me about all those people who are now here? You obviously talked about Luka Jelčić, but what about the rest of the guys?
Well, a few of them have been in Iceland. Obviously, Luka Saranja, he's based in Iceland, and he's been there for quite some time now. Grigor was in Iceland with Luka when he first came. Vito Jelčić, he was in Iceland as well, came to visit his brother and stay with us for a good while. And obviously the connection between me and Luka kind of makes a connection between our two gyms, and we're hoping to explore that a bit more. So hopefully I'm gonna bring the team over here to train, and hopefully someday as well they can come over to Iceland for a little train retreat.
When it comes to Icelandic huge guys, you have Mr. Hafthor Bjornsson. He visited Mjolnir MMA multiple times. So what can you tell me about his death grip? You know, when he kind of leans on you and doesn't let you escape.
Yeah, Hafthor is a different kind of animal. He's absolutely massive, and obviously one of the strongest men ever to walk the earth. So you can imagine he's. I did a grappling match with him, and at the time he had leaned down quite a bit, but he was still around 165 kilos or something, if I remember correctly, and he was ripped. So pure muscle, and not just any muscle. Like I said, it's the strongest muscle in the world. So yeah, he's something else, that guy. Super athlete.
You watched, of course, the Game of Thrones series, yeah?
Yes.
So do you ever think that in any universe, Pedro Pascal could actually beat the Mountain or beat Hafthor?
No, not unless he had a gun.
Yes, yes, or maybe something from the Mandalorian, you know,
Yeah.
some laser gun. Okay, so let's go back to your kind of career a little bit. Why did you have all these canceled bouts? You're one of the fighters who has, I believe, like the most amount of like fights being arranged and then being canceled that I actually saw. You know, just browsing through.
Canceled, or you mean change of opponents?
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
I've had a lot of change of opponents. I can't remember how many, but yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest. Like most of the time, it's due to an injury, or at least that's what we hear. So it's the fight game, you know. It's guys get injured quite a bit, and when you're fighting at the biggest stage, guys are usually not too keen to go in there with an injury, not a significant one anyway. So yeah, it happens, and I guess I just happened to be one of the guys that my opponents got injured quite a bit. It's
Yes.
happened to me as well. I've gotten injured before big fights too.
You spent a lot of your times preparing in Mjolnir MMA. I've been to many gyms that the UFC fighters train in as well. SBG as well, that you train in, you know, for multiple camps and stuff like that. But Mjolnir has a really nice view. Honestly, like I don't think I've never been to Iceland, of course, but I don't think that I see like a better facility. So how did you obtain that facility? I mean, Iceland, Reykjavik is a small place, but you managed to find like this jewel of a place right underneath like a park and, and a museum. Yeah.
It's in the middle of like a national park area, and yeah, it's beautiful facility, and we were extremely lucky, would be my answer, how we obtained it. So it was just a series of fortunate events, if you will.
Okay. It also has like these cool rocks. Basically, the whole thing is built on rocks, and some of the walls on the sides are also like huge rocks. So, I mean,
yeah, it's a unique facility, really, and unique to the world. It used to be a big bowling hall, and where the rocks are built into the building, that used to be like a, what do you call, like a, it would have big balls there and big festivals and stuff like that. Or,
I see.
or
It was a venue.
parties. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. Not like a venue for sports venue, but more like for big celebrations.
Mhm.
Stuff like that. Beautiful place. And now it's our strength and conditioning hall.
I see. I see. I also saw some photos of you actually working on your gym. So you actually did the tatami, the framework that's underneath all of the things.
Yeah, all of us did. There was a lot of people that came in and helped. Everyone from the gym, our members and our the people that work for the gym, everybody showed up to help build this place, and they're still there.
You also have a barber shop.
We used to, not
I
anymore.
see.
Yeah, when we opened up, we had a barber shop for some time. And a bar.
And a
We
bar.
used to have a bar as well, like very nicely decorated, like Viking style, beautiful place. But we changed that into also a strength and conditioning room.
You see, because your gym is full of people. There's constantly peeping, and the groups are huge. I mean, I can actually understand you maybe like not training there for your camps, because obviously it's a lot of people approach you. Like here it's much more private, so to speak, you know, compared to your gym.
Yeah, I mean, our gym is we have like somewhere around 1,400 members.
In Reykjavik, which is the city of how big?
300 or 250,000 or something. I'm not really sure.
So the size of Split,
yeah.
Croatia, yeah.
But yeah, it's a very big gym, and it's crazy how much it's grown from scratch. Because there was nothing when we started. When I started martial arts in Reykjavik in Iceland, I started doing karate, and then a group of guys started forming Mjolnir, and we started training kickboxing and grappling and MMA basically. We were just about a handful of guys, you know, and this is around 2005-ish. And fast forward 20 years, and now we have one of the nicest facilities in Europe.
Yes, in the world, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to like a little bit of a less beautiful facility, SBG Dublin. You trained there for multiple times. Would you say that you're maybe one of the biggest success stories, obviously next to Conor, when it comes to SBG and Mjolnir?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Conor is obviously the biggest name by a milestone, probably in MMA history. Apart from him, yeah, I would definitely be one of the guys that SBG would be known for originally.
You actually weren't born in Reykjavik. You were born in a much smaller place in Iceland. Is there where like the base was, or is that's why you were born in that? Don't know how to
No,
pronounce the name.
my parents lived in Akureyri when I was born, so it's a small town or smaller town, still one of the bigger ones in Iceland, but yeah, very small.
Interesting. Seems like a good place to like disappear. You know, if you're on like a most wanted list, just kind of go there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You still have all the amenities.
So my mother is from another town that's even smaller. I think around maybe 800 people, like a village, and Ólafsfjörður, it's called. So we go there quite a bit. I have a house there. My parents also have a house there. My grandparents used to have a farm there. Now they retired and live in the city with us. But I used to go there, and I still do, but every summer is like a couple of times, a few times a year, and very peaceful place.
Yes, and then somebody like drags you away, like you're a fighter, to Zadar, and then you have to be in his corner. So can you tell me something about Luka Ceranja and the FNC?
Yeah, first of all, the FNC, I was shocked. It's I knew they were doing a good job, but it's a phenomenal show, and I really loved everything about it. First of all, how everything was handled backstage, how everything ran smoothly and was set up from my point of view. Anyway, I don't know, maybe they ran into some complications, but it didn't show. Everyone seemed very, very chilled and family-like. Even though the show is at its caliber, it's so big, and I know you have even bigger shows, so this was kind of a small one, if I understood right, compared to some of the bigger shows of FNC. But the atmosphere and the crowd also super respectful. Every time that the fighters were walking in, walking out, everybody was clapping and showing the fighters. a lot of respect. It was loud. It was strong energy, real fight fans. I loved everything about it. I was thinking at one point when I was backstage, like I wish I was fighting, you know?
Well, there's always room in the cage for more, you know. So hopefully someday we will see you in the FNC cage. Yeah, actually, you said something about the FNC kind of size currently. I would say like the last maybe 7 or 8 events are in pre-pandemic numbers when it comes to the UFC. So back before 2020, the UFC probably had that number in halls. Obviously, you know, maybe if there was like a big McGregor fight, then you know they would pop that 18, 19,000 to like 20 or even more, depending on the venue size. But here currently we're maxing out all the venues. So yeah. But what can you tell me about Luka Ceranja's performance? This is what I'm interested in. You as a coach.
Luka has been improving a lot, and he is a great fighter. He's a very tough one, as we saw that night. This was a very tough fight. His opponent, Luka, also fought a really good fight. And I give all the credit to him, you know, for this fight. He fought the perfect fight. We could have done some things better. However, I'm very proud of Luka in this fight. He showed some resilience. He showed a lot of resilience, actually, and he showed a lot of heart also, because a lot of guys would have found a way out. Like I said, it was a really tough fight. It was a little bit scary when we were in the corner, you know, because things weren't really going our way. Luka is a young fighter, you know, and he has a lot of experience ahead of him, and he can do a lot more than he did in that cage. That will come with experience, I think. So he has, the way he fights now is more staying on his feet and fighting in a certain way. That didn't suit for this opponent at all. We had to change, you know, a lot of things for him to be able to be fighting the right fight against his last opponents. However, that, like I said, he needs a bit more experience, in my opinion, to be able to develop his skills inside the cage. You know? So, but I am very happy with what he showed us that night. And I look forward to working with Luka more in the future. He has a bright future.
I see. Well, you said something about stand-up versus, say, ground game. You obviously are a Gracie black belt jiu-jitsu fighter. So how much of that can you kind of pour into Luka?
I'm trying every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I do my best to I don't wanna impose my skills or my game too much on people, because they need to find their own way. But I try to show them as much as I can and try to get my experience over to them in any way or form I can. It can be tough being a coach, you know, and any coach will tell you this, that you have to approach almost every fighter differently. So what works for this fighter might not work for that fighter, or how you approach him with a certain technique will be completely different for the next one, even though you're approaching them with the same exact move or sequence or situational pattern or whatever it is. So being a coach is challenging, and I'm still learning how to do that the best I can.
So is your approach different than, say, your former coach, Mr. John Danaher? I mean, I don't think that he is that kind of merciful to his students, you know?
Yeah, John is a great coach, and he's very knowledgeable, and he's a super scientist when it comes to jiu-jitsu and the fighting game overall. I really enjoyed training with John Danaher when I was in New York. So I definitely picked up some things from him. There's no doubt, training under him for almost 2 years, as well as Henso, obviously. I really enjoyed the time there, and do I have a different approach? Yeah, I guess. I mean, everybody has their own approach, and it's hard to have the exact same, but I definitely try to learn from people that are around me, and so my approach would be it's in some way the same, some way the same as Luca's approach, some way the same as my head coach, John Kavanagh. I think in a lot of ways I would be, or I try to be similar to John Kavanagh. I feel like I understood always his way really well, and it made sense to me. Obviously, I looked up to him since I started. He was and has always been my main coach, and so that's kind of who I look up to and look at and want to work similar, like, if that makes sense.
Yes, people told me this about you, and I was just planning to ask you about the differences in coaching between Kavanagh and Mr. Danaher, both Johns. But you spoke about Mr. John Danaher at a certain podcast where he broke an arm of one of his attendees. Can you please just kind of repeat that for all the Croatian viewers, like that whole scene?
Yeah, so John is a very and he's very much of a professor and very professional, super knowledgeable, and I really enjoyed being around him. I was very lucky to be able to train with John for that time, and but so this particular incident, I'm not sure if it's the only one. I don't think so, because John is nice, and John will show you things, and John is not a competitor himself. He rolls quite easy. He can go if he needs to, but he will train quite slowly and still realistic. But you train differently when you train with people like this. You respect them, and they know what they're doing, but they're not like I was at the time, 20, So when you go and train with John, and in this particular incident, somebody was doing a private with John, and this guy was a proper athlete, probably jacked up on steroids also, and big and ready to go. And so it was me and one other guy, if I remember correctly, at the gym, and then John was doing his private lesson with this guy who came in, and you could see it after a while that the guy didn't really want to learn from John. He wanted to test himself against John, which John is not the guy you test himself with. You test yourself with his students. However, John is very game. If you put him in a corner, he's gonna bite. Right, and his bite is not nice. So in this case, this particular individual, who I don't know, he went at John and started cranking on his neck and going way too hard. John managed to get his head out, pulled closed guard, climbed his way up to a position called pit stop, whacked the guy's arm like completely in pieces, just fuck, rolled back over his head, and the guy is just screaming after it. John just rolls back and walks off the mat, didn't even look at the guy, just goes back into his office, cool as a cucumber.
And you went to check up on him?
I went to check up on him, and then like It was maybe like a couple of minutes had passed. I opened up the office door slowly and kind of look over and like was just gonna check if John was okay, and he's on the computer and he looks over to me and it's like, "What's up, buddy?" Like nothing had happened, not a bother on him. So John is not somebody you want to mess with.
Play with fire, you get hurt, of course. Okay, what can you tell me about your long-haired braided friend who has been following you in Zadar as well with Luka? Very Viking-looking individual.
Matthew Miller, he is my wrestling coach. He's from Canada, from Toronto. He was in the Canadian Olympic team, also trained and coached at TriStar for many, many years. The likes of George St. Pierre, Tom Breeze, and all the guys that were there at TriStar at the golden years, if you will, you know. And yeah, just a super intelligent guy and very knowledgeable when it comes to the game of wrestling, and especially when it comes to integrating wrestling into MMA. We became good friends many years ago, and it's actually quite a funny story. He showed up in Iceland one day, so we met in Dublin. He's good friends with Ryan Hall also. Ryan Hall was doing a little seminar in Dublin many years ago, and this is where me and Matt met, and we started training together a little bit. And fast forward, I think about a year, he just pops up in my gym all of a sudden. So he was meant to go to England to fight his second pro fight, and they didn't let him into the country, some visa issue. So he had to fly. So he flew to Iceland and stayed with me for a week. We trained together there, and that's how we really got to know each other.
That's
And we've been,
serendipity at its best.
you know, he's one of my best friends as well. So
And now he's your kind of partner in crime when it comes to coaching other people as well. From
yeah,
young.
absolutely. We had a very solid team back home. Obviously, before Luka came back here, we had Luka who took care of most of the especially the striking aspect and MMA as well. He was like the head coach over the team back home. And then you have Matt, who specializes in wrestling, and then you have me, who's maybe a bit more specialized in ground fighting. You know, so we had a really strong team and something to build on, and that's what we're still doing now.
Yes, in every aspect. Also, I think he has got you beaten when it comes to Viking-looking facial hair.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
So,
He looks way more Icelandic than I do.
although you did have the kind of the longer mustache, they were kind of semi-handlebar. So,
Yeah.
are you thinking maybe like returning to that look and maybe, you know, kind of upscaling him or beating him in an Icelandic-looking
I don't
game?
think I can beat that, but I'll probably rock the mustache in the fight. Yes.
Did you ever meet Gunnar Nelson, the singer?
No, I never.
But you know of him, right?
Yeah, the country singer.
Yeah. Okay, that aside, do you have any vices? Like, I don't know, like, you know, smoking, drinking, something like that. But like, obviously, you had the bar, you held Proper 12 probably in your bar. We were probably one of the first establishments who had Proper 12 at their bar, right? So do you have like any vices maybe that you kind of lean on when you're not actively training?
You mean like bad habits or some guilty pleasures or
Maybe,
stuff like that? Nothing I can think of right now. The most endangering to my career was my hobbies that I used to have. I don't anymore, but I used to have. Yeah, I used to ride bikes, like motorbikes quite a bit, off-road bikes mostly, like motocross or enduro bikes and snowmobiles and stuff like that, which was maybe not advised for somebody like me. However, now I just have golf, so pretty chilled.
What about longboard?
Longboard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to ride longboards for some time. Yeah, I like that. And I snowboarded when I was younger quite a bit.
I see. So, born and bred as a fighter, you've been in this game for 18 years. You're gonna fight Mr. Holland in London. What can you tell me about the London crowd?
They're very loud, very powerful crowd. You know, I fought there many, many times over the years, and I love it. I love the London crowd. They are hyped.
Well, I wish you all the best at your upcoming bout with Mr. Holland, and hopefully we'll see you in Croatia many, many other times.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.